Diversity, I define as 1Q, the quantitative representation of difference. It's about counting how many women, people of color, people from indigenous communities we have, how many people we have from the LGBTQ communities, and more. When we are in the land of diversity, we put resources towards building a more inclusive environment. So we'll have a committee, we'll have policies, we'll do training, we'll have a few other bells and whistles. But the problem is that when we are stuck in the land of diversity, which every single Canadian organization that I have worked with is, so let's start with that, we say we value differences, but the actual lived experience in the trenches is one of sameness. It's the, oh, we love differences, be different, please everyone, one, come all, come join us, different people. And then it's like the voices of differences show up at our doorsteps and we're like, oh, did we say you could be different? Just kidding. Leave your differences at the door, minimize your differences in favor of sameness. It's a message of behavioral sameness or a message of conformity. And because of that, because we're counting and focusing on numbers and we're pushing behavioral conformity, it feels a lot like tokenism. People feel like tokens and not a lot of shifting. And so it feels like all this work you're doing is all about tokenism and ticking a box. I don't feel really valued. By the way, in the land of diversity, that's where equality, the concept of treat everyone the same, lives. For the lawyers in the room, you'll remember this from law school as well. Equality is about, in order to yield fairness, we treat everyone the same. It's an entrenchment of sameness. And we know from the law, treating everyone the same has an adverse impact on people who come from marginalized communities because not everyone starts in the same place. So diversity is important because we need numbers. If you don't have anyone from the indigenous communities in your pipelines or in your entry-level ranks, you're not going to be inclusive. So diversity does matter, but the problem is being entrenched in diversity means being entrenched in sameness, and that doesn't work. When we're in inclusion, we have two cues. We have the quantitative representation of difference, like you can count people, but they are represented across the organization, across the leadership ranks. And we have what's called the qualitative experience of difference, the second cue. And when I say the qualitative experience of difference, what I'm talking about here is when you ask people who come from communities that have been historically marginalized and have current experiences with marginalization, how do you feel when you come into work? They'll say to you, I can bring my whole, true, authentic cultural self to work. I can do me, speak the way I want to speak, dress the way I want to dress, emote the way I want to emote, talk about what I want to talk about as it relates to my personal life, with good judgment. And I feel like it's so interesting because I just think that I don't need to add that in, but then many times in my sessions, a leader will put up their hand, usually a he will put up his hand and go, surely you mean not everything. And I'm like, surely I don't mean everything. No. So yes, with judgment, the point is you can be who you are and still have not only equal access to opportunities, but because you're thriving, you have more opportunities. That's what inclusion looks like. The qualitative experience is there. Equity is about recognizing historical legacies and current or present realities of discrimination and oppression that marginalized people experience.
Welcome everyone. I hope you enjoyed that quick video. Wanted to share on that as we're talking about diversity tonight. So I realized that I haven't really talked about diversity in all these on the last couple of nights that I've gone live. So tonight, just going to talk about diversity a little bit because I did a LinkedIn live with a friend of mine just before the end of the year. And one of the questions that came up, there was a business owner that came into the chat. And her question was, oh, wow, that's so good to talk about diversity and inclusion, but I'm just a solopreneur. And I did a post on that on Facebook today. So I wanted to talk to that solopreneur, that one business owner. You may not have a team, but you want to embrace diversity and inclusion in your company, in your business. And that part is so important because here's what I'm going to say to you is that if that is something that's in your heart, this is something that you have to really be intentional with. One of the posts that I posted today was on a company that I've been waiting to get their bag. The name of the company is Telfar. Telfar was started by a young man from Liberia, Africa. He identifies as queer, and his slogan for his bag for the company is, "It's not for you, it's for everyone." Right? So just by you hearing that, you understand that um, his heart and soul is about inclusion. And part of the reason why he created this company, this luxury brand, it's a luxury brand, but it's at a price point where it's not like your Louis or your Gucci or your whatever. It's not thousands of dollars for these bags. And he does it on a very exclusive release when he does these bags, because he doesn't want people to resell the bags, because he wants everyone to be able to have access to luxury but not having to pay thousands of dollars. So with that, I align with that mission because everything for me is about diversity and inclusion. So I align with a company that's like that. So the reason why I bring that up is because as business owners, you can do the same thing. It may just be yourself. Or maybe you are a career professional. Maybe you don't have a business. But some of the intention that you can do is spend your money at certain places. Really look and see what the mission and the vision of these companies are. Maybe 20, 25 years ago, we couldn't really do that. But now we have you have it in your phone. So just pull up the name of the company, check and see what the mission and vision is. And if that aligns with you in terms of inclusion and diversity, then go and spend your money with them. Support minority businesses, support women owned businesses. That's how we continue with inclusion and diversity and equity as well, right? Because for many years, women couldn't own businesses. From what I understand, back in the 70s, women couldn't even get a credit card unless you were married. And so we know about being marginalized as a woman, and we know about being marginalized as an African American, as a Black person living in America. So if that is something that you are intentional on, you can have that same intention on the monies that you're spending. So I want to welcome anyone that's joining me here tonight. If you I'm going through StreamYard, so you have to give StreamYard permission so that I can see your comments. Otherwise than that, I won't be able to see your comments. But if you come back here on the replay, just go ahead and hit hashtag replay, and I will definitely interact with your comment, because I want to hear what you have to say and any thoughts that you may have. So just a few tips that I want to leave with you as we're talking about diversity and inclusion. So if you are a one person speaking to that solo, not talking to a huge company organization, how about making your website more accessible? Right? So there's different ways that your website can be accessible, um, such as a screen reader, such as the colors that are on your website. A lot of people don't realize that there are certain colors when you're doing graphics that you should really stay away from. When I see certain graphics, I just like, they just really don't understand. So you stay away from certain colors. You stay away from certain fonts. Why? Because if someone is maybe they're legally blind, but they maybe can see a little bit or whatever, or they have a screen reader, some things are not going to pick up with that. So are you being intentional about your website, about things that you're putting out that's really accessible to people, right? And we can only start where we are. Right, we can only start where we are, and for me, my mission in life is to really have the diversity, inclusion, the engagement conversation so that it's normal. Because a lot of times, and I don't know where this started, whenever that conversation starts with diversity and inclusion, somehow somebody's thinking somebody's calling somebody racist or a company is racist. Has nothing to do with that. It has to do with starting from where you are, and let's build upon that. If there's things that you don't know, let's get you the information so that now you can know. If you are a company that you want to be intentional about who you spend your money with or who you hire, let's be intentional about that. So it's not about go into a knee-jerk reaction and going into emotion and calling names. Is about us growing together. So that's what I'm saying. Start where you are. Um, if you're able to build a team, you know, make sure you gather a diverse team. One of the things that I was very intentional on when I started Mosaic, I'm in the process of working on my website now, but I was very intentional on whoever touched my website, my graphics, anything like that. It had to be women centered, right? And that was something that I was very intentional on. My logo was made by a woman. My website that I currently have was made by a woman. Any graphics that I had was made by a woman. I was very intentional about that. So, you can start, like I said, start where you are and always look for trying to have diversity around you, right? And even on your website, you can always have a diversity statement on your website. There's during the Christmas holidays, I was very impressed with Bath and Body Works and I believe Old Navy. Their bags had diversity, inclusion topics and hashtags on there, right? And that was, I pick up on that everywhere I go. So that was really good to see. So you can put things on your website. You can have stuff in your email. You can start wherever you are. You don't have to be a huge organization that you may need to have a huge campaign. You can start from where you are. So I just wanted to come on tonight and let's have that diversity inclusion conversation with small business owners, solopreneurs, and really give you back your power so that you can understand that you do have the power when it comes to that. You can be intentional where you're spending your money. You can be intentional on your website if you have a website. You can be intentional on your social media posts. So those are some things that you can do with that type of intentionality. Many of you may know that I started off in the diversity world at work as the diversity chairperson. And one of the things that every meeting that we had, I kept on saying, what is your position when it comes to diversity and inclusion? And the reason why I kept on asking that is because, yeah, we had a diversity committee. That was great, but I didn't see the type of intentional work being done within the organization. We spent a lot of effort doing stuff outside, but I didn't see a lot of intention within the organization. So hence I kept on saying, what is your intention when it comes to diversity and inclusion? Now, there's a form that companies fill out once a year, and there's a scoring that they get, and I believe it's from the HRC. And there's a scoring that they get. A lot of companies just check that box so that they can get whatever score that there is, and it goes from 0 to 100. So if there's an organization that you might want to check out, and if they participate, check out and see what their score is. And if for some reason they may have a high score, really dive deep and really see if that score really translate to really what they're doing in terms of the organization. Because a lot of organizations are very performative. A lot of when it comes to diversity and equity work. And the reason why is because I say this all the time, the work is not easy. It's not a one and done type of work. The type of work when it comes to diversity and inclusion, equity, belonging, engagement, all of that is on a continual basis. So it's changing policy, it's changing procedure, it's really having your departments and your department heads and all of that being in tune and in line with whatever the diversity and inclusion mission is. So I just wanted to come on tonight just to talk about diversity and inclusion. I hope you enjoy the I think it's a 5-minute video that I played up front. But just to let you know that you have a choice when it comes to diversity and inclusion. Don't feel like your hands are tied. Don't feel like there's nothing that you can do. There's so much you can do. Where you spend your money is key. Be intentional about where you spend your money. Look at the mission, the vision of these organizations. Even the small businesses, look at the mission and the vision of those companies. So that's one. Two, if you have a website, make sure that your website is accessible for people that may be vision impaired. And also there's even other things that one could probably do when it comes to the contrast, the color, certain colors that you use that would not be offensive to someone that's vision impaired. So those are some things that you can do. So I don't want you to feel that when it comes to diversity and inclusion, I can't do anything. And like I said, start where you are. Do an assessment on yourself and say, if there's some things that I need to learn, there's some resources that I need, there's some partnerships I need to do, there's some expansion of my network that I need to do. Just start from where you are, take an assessment where you are, and now let's build upon that, because this type of work, it is not, like I said, it's not a one and done. It's not a marathon, it's not a sprint. It's just a constant thing, because I don't believe that there's ever a finish line. I believe that as you're continually doing the work, there's going to be more stuff that's added, but all it is making you, one, a better company, two, a better individual, and three, us having a better community, because that's really my mission, is for us to really have these diversity inclusion conversations at the home level. Then we take it to our churches, then we take it to our community, and then it's an easy transition for work. But what I don't believe, the model that they have currently, is that you only talk about it at work. And we know that talking about it at work, a lot of people are showing up and thinking, well, I have to do this training. That's not good, right? That doesn't make people feel included, because now I have to take this. And people have a lot of thought processes around that. So thank you all for joining me tonight on my diversity talk. I will be back here tomorrow, not sure what time, but you guys have an amazing evening. And like I said, interact with the chat and I'll come back and I will interact with you. So have an amazing evening, everyone. Good night. Talk to you tomorrow.